Hello, this video is a discussion of the Pandas library, specifically the series data structure within the Pandas library. Just sort of give a big picture overview of the Pandas library. Pandas is usually imported. This is the convention, import pandas as PD, and there are typically the two main data structures within pandas. One is series, which is a one-dimensional, it's like a one-dimensional array-like structure. The other is the data frame, which is it's considered sort of the workhorse, the most widely used data structure for working with data analytics. It's sort of a two-dimensional or tabular structure, and this uses it uses the series arrays. It's constituted with a set of series. So if you understand working with the series with a data structure within pandas, it's going to be much easier to work with the data frame. And the series, the example that I've given, I'm not going to do this entire thing, but what I'll do is I'll take parts of it to discuss and work through it. So, for example, I have a series called, let's say, I'll create a series called capitals, and this is capitals of various states. So Montgomery is one capital. And then I might have Juneau as a second capital, and then Phoenix as a third. And so this is the so I have capitals is the name, and then I have a series of values for this set of values for this series. So this is the name of the series. Set of values. Okay, and then there is an integer index. It is a zero-based index that is provided by default. Now, by default, it is this is an index. By default, as I said, it is an integer zero-based index, but we could change it into a label-based index if we choose to, and that's what we will do in our example. So while we'll initially start off with the zero-based with the integer-based index, we will actually change later. We'll have capitals here with the set of values, and then we will use the states. So the states will become the index. So it will be a label-based index. And so, for example, for Montgomery, it's Alabama. So Montgomery, it's going to be Alabama, the state name as the index. And then for Juneau, it'll be Alaska as the index, and so on. So this becomes a label-based index, and we will see specifically the example and see how that works. So that's one concept to keep in mind. Indexes for series, you can by default have it as an integer, or you could choose to change it to a label. Now, that's within the series. Coming to a data frame is going to be made up of it's a set of series. So, for example, I might have I'll take capitals. This series here, Montgomery, Juno, Phoenix. So I take this series, and this becomes one. This is one column within the data frame. Now I could have, and by default again I'll have a zero-based index, but I could then add in another series. Let's say I call it population, and give some values here. So this is, let's say, 1 million, this is 0.2 million, and maybe this is 3 million. So this is the sets of data, and each of this, so this is the data. So I have two series, each of which constitutes one column for the data frame, and I can keep adding on more series, and then obviously more rows of data here. But a data frame essentially is consisting of a set of series, and you can think of each series constituting a column, but it also, each of these rows also actually become, if you take out the data type, will be considered a series. So essentially, the data frame consists of a series of columns, a set of columns that are series, as well as a set of rows that are also series. So that's one of the reasons, if we understand working with a series object, we are going to better understand working with a data frame object. Okay, so let me see how long. I've already taken 7 minutes. So let me get into the actual code discussion. I'm going to try to just copy paste some of this to reduce the amount of time I'm using. So if I had, let's say this this first one here is states. Okay, so I'll run this, and if you can see that if I run states, I get it's a list, and I could confirm this by asking the type of states. Similarly, I'm going to use the list for capitals. Okay. I'll put it into my discussion notebook, okay, and run this. And if I try to list this, again the type of capitals is also a list. Now I could change this from so the list, if I want to work with a series, I have to first import the Pandas library, and as I said, the convention is to import it as PD. Okay. And if I want to create a series, and just to distinguish it from capitals, I'll say capitals series instead of just a list. I'll use PD dot, and basically it's like a constructor. I'm constructing a series object from a class. So now I can say, well, take the capitals list that we have from here, apply the series constructor from the Pandas library, and convert this into a series object. So if I run this here, and I will say capitals series, on this, you can see the difference between capitals the list and capitals the series. And just as I discussed earlier on the notepad, you can see that it has a 0-based index by default. You can see it right here, and obviously that's not there in the list. Okay. Now so that's one concept. So now that I have the series, how do I get into it? I could just do the like a regular index there. So for example, I could just say capitals series subscript 0, and that's going to bring back the element at index 0. Now there are two indexers, and it's like indexer methods that are provided through to access the values that are in a series, and these two are, I'll use the markdown. So they are called. The way you use it is give a series name like capitals series dot lock. So and then specify a particular index within square brackets, or you could say capitals. The other indexer that is used, capitals series dot ilock. Okay. So we let me switch you back to the notepad, and I told you that the indexes could be the integer based or label based. If you use an integer, if you have an integer based index, you'll be using the ilock indexer, while if you're using a label based index, you will be using the lock indexer. Now, if you don't have a label-based index, the lock will consider the integers, the values 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, and so on, as being the labels. Okay, so let's see how that works. Now, if I'll just go into. I'll put 12 minutes into this. Okay, so if I said capitals underscore series dot lock sub 0, I get back Montgomery. Now, because now it's considering 0 as essentially a label-based index, so 0, 1, 2, 3. And similarly, ilock would work the same way. So if I said capitals underscore series dot ilock and went with 0, it would come back with Montgomery as well. Now if I said, let me just take this, and I say I want a slice of the series starting from 0 going for 3 elements. It's going to start from 0 and gets me the first 3 elements. Okay, so now I've been mainly working with essentially a integer based index. Now I said you could have a label based index, and I told you in this notepad example that I can use the states, the state names as the index. So the states become the index. So the respect to Alabama is the state. The capital is Montgomery. So instead of using 0 to refer to the capital, I can use the state name to refer to the capital. So let's see how I can use the states as the index for a series. Okay, let me switch over here. So what I'm going to do is I'll create another series called states and capitals, and I'll say PD pandas dot series, and I'm going to give it capitals as being the value-based list. Remember, I had two lists, capitals and states. So capitals is the value-based list, and for the index I want to use the states list. Okay, so if I run this now, okay, I'll just minimize this. Okay, so now if I look inside states and capitals, you can see that I don't have a zero-based, an integer-based index, but I instead have a label-based index with the names of this respective states constituting the index values. Okay, so if I again set type, what's the type of let's see, just states and capitals, run this, comes back as a series object. Now, because I have the label, I could now, as my index, I could say, just to cut down the typing, I'm going to say states and capitals, and I'll say dot lock, because lock is the, if you remember, the label-based index. So now I could say, give me the capital of Alabama. Okay, so it comes back as Montgomery, and I could use the slicing operation that we were using the colon. So I want to start from Alabama, and let's say West Virginia. Okay, so it goes up, starts at Alabama and goes up to West Virginia. Okay, and if you want to look at the type of this slice, that's going to be a series as well. So if I slice out a series, if I slice out a set of subset of a series, it's going to be a series of its own. Okay, so let's see how many minutes I've taken up. About 18 minutes. This is sort of the core of a series. I'm trying to think if there is something else that I should add on at this point. Trying to I think this pretty much, if you understand this and how you can navigate through using indexes through a series, the integer-based index, a label-based index, and using ilock with the integer-based index and lock with the label-based index. And also the previous video was about how you apply various Boolean operations on NumPy. So if you understand like with Boolean and logical operations, this is with NumPy. If you understand these two concepts, navigating through a series using ilock and lock, and then this aspect here, working with logical operations like the and, or, and the not, and which results in a series of true-false values, and how that works. If those are sort of the building blocks that lead into the data frame. Okay, so So that's so the next video I'll get into addressing data frames, and it would, as I said, help if you understand navigating through the series and working with the logical and Boolean operations related to NumPy.